From the top rope, this is the Squared Circus.
Square! Ah! That's the occult phenomenon. You know what I think?
Recording in progress.
I realize I like paint.
That was a botch. Hold on.
So, anyway, that's how it's gonna go.
Recording in progress.
How are you?
I could hear that.
Yes, you can. I was hoping you could. How is your day, sir?
Hey,
Yes,
maybe
I
you don't.
was actually looking forward to this because I'm sure we're gonna have most of the podcast about that segment.
So, do we need to just go right into this?
I guess I assume so. It's just because most how our formula is that we're gonna definitely have a reaction on the Dynamite that happened last night, and I can't even tell you much of it besides this segment. So you're gonna have to maybe recap of what went on, because I actually think that was the most brilliant thing I ever watched in so long.
Yo,
Listen.
Scissoring National Scissoring Day.
Yes, it was just fucking brilliant. It was brilliant.
So good. Unfortunately, I don't know how much to say about it. It was just like this oasis of joy in what's been kind of a mediocre desert of wrestling lately.
I guess we could get rid of the other shit first. What was the
no
the card?
That stuff can all go last.
Okay.
Let's give this the top billing it deserves.
It was the most enjoyment I had, and the fact that they had everyone scissoring in the crowd, the crowd was pumped. It just brought you joy. Like, as silly as it was, I'm gonna be honest, I actually thought it could go both ways. I thought it could either go cheesy or it could be like good or whatever. But once it started going on, they just have this huge organic energy.
Yes.
That you just have to love them. You just have to love them. As soon as the fucking song goes on, as soon as he starts rapping, which I thought it was good, with a Shimmer Me Timbers with Joe Biden, like everything. The crowd fucking loves it. The crowd was all having like the Shimmer Me Timbers and scissoring fucking signs.
Oh my
like,
God.
How
many
people? Not?
I want to know, combined, of all the people that were at this show that came with scissor gimmicks.
Yeah.
How many hours were spent making scissors total? If you had all these people up, these people showed up with these scissor gimmicks. It was so good.
Out of all the things that we complain about or pick on or whatever, this is the one thing that I feel like organically got over, and there's just nothing really wrong about it. Like, when you think about both of them did their parts too, because normally Max is normally the main one that does shit. But even Bowens actually did like a good job at his speech. It feels like
he did great.
Billy Gunn actually was really good. Like, and you could tell he's enjoying the shit out of this.
I mean, whatever Billy Gunn contributes to this, like his energy of just like the enjoyment that he radiates doing it, you have to love that.
Yeah. He legitimately seems like he's smiling. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, not on camera or whatever. He, like, you could tell that he's like, oh my God, it's probably the most over he got in forever.
Oh yeah.
And the crowd loves it. The fact that they hijacked Keith Lee's little chant to say "Scissor Me, Daddy" it's "Scissor Me, Daddy." I wonder how Keith Lee feels about that. But like the fact that
that's a chant, like a soccer chant that they've reused for a bunch of other things.
But the fact that they hijacked it for him, it just, everything just seemed to work. And I'm like, I can't believe that a segment for National Scissoring Day, which shouldn't be good on paper, was the best thing of the whole fucking Wednesday night.
Yeah.
To me.
And if you look at it's most of what people, if it wasn't for the stupid Sammy Andrade backstage shit, this would be the headline for everything. And everybody that's talked about this, that's been the highlight of the show.
And Got
No, I was just saying what's amazing about it is, and this is a whole other aspect of this show that we can talk about, was like the place was like half sold.
yes.
It was pretty empty, and it still felt like a huge full arena from the energy from the crowd for this segment.
Mhm.
Like, despite how small the crowd was, you couldn't tell. If you closed your eyes, you wouldn't know during this segment because they were so into it. And it's what's amazing is like I said earlier, it's hard to describe like what was so great about this. And it's one of those, I think, just like it's like wrestling magic. Like, what's so great about it? I'm not sure. If I had to like explain it to somebody, there's no way to put into words. They just have this infectious energy that's fun to watch, and it's a sort of je ne sais quoi. They have that special it thing, that just fucking works.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's organically. They said it many times that they're homegrown. They've been around for a while, and I really, really, really hope that they don't break them up for a long time, because this is to me the best thing that they have in AEW that keeps on. They don't get into trouble. They fucking keep their mouths shut. All they're doing is getting the crowds popping. They're very, very huge. So I hope they have a long title run. They better not drop the belts to freaking the next match or some bullshit. Like, they should be like, okay, you know what? We have something with all the bullshit that's going on, with all the turmoil and all like the fights and this and that. This is actually the one thing that is connecting with the crowds, and you can't go wrong. The fact that he said that daddy, Scissor Me Daddy Ass shirt is the #1 selling shirt for what's it called in 2022 so far tells something.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love that.
I love that. I love that. I love the fact that he said the whole, this is not red, this is not blue, we all wear pink. Like, everything about it was just amazing. Was just amazing line about the whole thing. Yeah. And
everyone looks good in pink.
Yeah. Everyone had their part in it. Everyone said their own little spiel. Everything looked good. It just seemed like you could tell they love each other, and like you could tell they get along, which helps. And it wasn't just some two people put together. You could tell that even like Billy Gunn, even though he was stuck on them, he is owning that role that he has with them, owning that role. Like, like he's going all in.
Yeah. And you made a good point. It's the homegrown organic thing. And I think that's a lot of why the crowd connects with it. It wasn't something that came from outside that was established somewhere else. And B, it wasn't something that was just immediately put into the rotation at like a certain level of the card. Like, they worked their way up.
Yes.
They were on dark a lot. They like earned the crowd.
They did.
They weren't just given their spot,
And we said this before on one of the other podcasts, as the crowd is probably what put them to get the belts, because they probably, when they lost the belts on that pay-per-view, they realized, okay, we fucked up. The crowd told them they fucked up. So I guarantee you the crowd is dictating this whole entire run.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, I know we don't we talk sometimes WWE, but it reminds me of when Punk left WWE and the crowd dictated Daniel Bryan to win because they knew that they had no other choice.
Yeah.
And that's what this reminds me of. They said, okay, we fucked up. We have to put them on the belts. And now they put them in, they are so hot that no team is going to get cheered on if they beat them. They just instant heat if they get the belts off them as of now. I mean, yes, it could die down because I know fans can be fickle, or gets, or played out or whatever. Yeah. As of now, they have to have a long run because they finally have the #1 shirts. They finally have the crowd.
Yeah.
It's organic. They're not changing their style. They still do the same exact shit, that they done since the very beginning. And it just makes me cool to see. It makes me cool to see that like he's actually proud to be the first gay champion of AEW. I just had to say that out loud too. Like when he wrote that text too, it was just kind of cool. Like when he wrote that, "Hey Nana, I made it." I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh yeah.
He was like, "Oh,
showed
me." What? Yeah, like it's like, we're the #1 team, we're the #1 selling. I'm also the first gay champion, and like he just seemed like really proud. And like you could tell, like when they did that segment last night, that like you could just see the instant, like, oh my God, we finally made it. The crowd was going nuts. I'm like, so it just felt nice to see. Because like I said, because it's organic and the fact that it's genuine,
Yes.
it just means so much more. It just means so much more.
We'll say it a million times. Authenticity goes a long way. And the fact that they kind of, they drove home the point of being homegrown. They know. I don't know if everybody there knows, if Tony knows. I mean, they must know the value of like having homegrown talent get over. But they need to use that more often.
Yeah.
Stop trying to like take the rub off of established guys as much as they're doing. I mean, we've talked about it. They did it well with Sting, but a lot of the reason I think that they've been losing fans is like people are not getting that aspect of AEW that was exciting for them for a long time, was like coming up with these new guys. Not I don't mean them coming up like, like growing with them, like being there for the journey for the new guys as they come up. And so after 3 years, I think people are not as excited. They're not selling tickets because they're like, yeah, well, we've been here for 3 years waiting for Darby Allin to do something, and he's still like mid-Carter. So the fact that they're doing with these guys is great. Hopefully they're learning their lesson from that, and I think they are to some degree.
Yeah. Like it's, and I said it again, but it's the fact that they're the only thing that's been consistent. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it just seems like they're very consistent. Like they didn't change their styles. They didn't try to like mold to the crowd. And the fact that the crowd made them the champs, to me tells me that they're going to be a long-term thing because they already won the crowd. And that's very hard to do. I think that's very hard to do. And I also, when Billy Gunn said the millions with the Rocks.
I know, that was great.
Yeah, that was great too. I was like, all right, and he just seemed like a little kid. Yeah. He just seemed like a little kid up there saying that and doing it. I'm pretty sure the Rock probably texted him or whatever saying, hey, I heard that.
So this is I'm gonna use this line periodically. This is an open letter to Tony Khan. Don't do with the Acclaimed what you did with Jurassic Express.
Yes.
Another team that was a homegrown team that organically got over. You put the belts on them, and then you're just like, what do we do next? Like, man, if it's working, it's working. I understand at some point you might want to make, work a new story, work a new angle with them, but let this ride out first.
They destroyed. Now that you said that, like I said this before to you, they destroyed 2 people at once, like instantly.
Yeah, well,
just for
Jungle Boy was on this show, wasn't he? We can get to that.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the show? Is that if we talked enough about the Acclaim?
We just had to make sure that we gave the flowers to Acclaim because that should. I still watch. I rewatched it like 3 times, and I'm probably going to show my friend Levi it because I know he's probably going to want some feedback to it. So I guess we knew for a fact we were going to talk mostly about that. So yeah, I guess we should talk about the. What was the first match again? I totally forgot because all I could think of was Acclaimed.
The first match was MJF and Wheeler Yuta.
It was actually a good match.
It was a good match. I don't have much to say about it. I think it's one of these matches where everybody gets over. It was actually a very good match.
It was a good match. I liked at first I didn't like the fact that they kept on going like back and forth, but then like I realized what they were doing. And MJF is really good. I didn't realize how good he was, but he knows how to sell. Either he sells over dramatic or he sells correctly, but he's really good at what he does. So I get it. So yeah, I thought it was a good match. I thought that was at the end when like they almost tried a handshake, right?
There was like he tried a handshake and then Moriarty came out and hit Yuta from behind. Yuta was trying to get MJF to handshake him. MJF was all conflicted about whether he should or not. Moriarty jumps him from behind, accompanied by Stokely. And
MJF was mad, right?
Then he was mad because he said, I didn't tell you to do that. And then, they're doing the whole like, Star Wars Emperor, strike him down kind of thing, where they gave him the ring. They handed MJF the ring, telling him to, do the deed on Yuta, and he continued to be conflicted. And then Regal comes out with the brass knucks, and they have a little head-to-head there, like a little standoff where nobody actually does anything. But then
I thought
MJF
that was kind
kind
of
of
weird because
slinks out.
he did like a little face thing, and then all of a sudden they went back to heel. But
Yeah, it was weird.
But it was a good match though. It definitely was a good match.
It was a good match, but it was weird to be like, because he kind of teased going babyface, because like if he was full heel, he just said, "Fuck you, I'm not shaking your hand." But he did this long pause, and then he was conflicted about handshake. He was conflicted about the handshake. He was conflicted about if he should hit him with the ring, and eventually he just left after Regal intimidated him with the brass knuckles. Let's see. I got a list of the matches here. I don't have all the segments though, so I might have to find that. Darby versus Lethal. This was fine.
Wait, I'm so sorry to interrupt. It was fun to me, but to me, I thought it was the same exact thing as the first match. I remember, I think I said that to you, where like they had the whole thing where they went back and forth, and then they tried to shake the hands, and they end up shaking hands. But I felt like it was very similar to the first match.
Yeah. They even did the back and forth pins, one person, just like the countering the pins over and over and over. So that was like a little much. And then, the conflicted stuff at the end. And then what happened at the end of this match?
They finally shook hands. Like he Lethal called back his the people, and then he still shook hands and then just walked away. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I'm down for a Lethal baby face turn and a little push. Like, I don't know. These are both guys who need a little bit more of the company behind them. I like both these guys a lot. And Lethal is just like a guy who just, he needs his day in the sun. I don't care if it's brief. He's one of those guys that if you push him early, if you had pushed him early, but even now, I don't think it's too late. You could give him a push, give him a mid-card belt, something like that, or just give him a push to make him seem more legit. He can be a guy who loses all the time and still never loses any standing. You know what I mean? There are those guys who've just been around forever. Jericho can lose 5 matches in a row, and it's not going to feel like, oh, well, Jericho's a jobber now. He can still be there to put people over even when he loses. I think Lethal's that kind of guy because he's been around for so long. He's had so many different titles. He's so well respected. I would put some kind of belt on him, if a trios belt, something. I don't know what. I don't have I haven't really thought this out. I'm just kind of riffing right now, but he's somebody that could be that guy, and you don't have to push him. He could be there to put other people over.
Side note, did you hear that because of the whole, and we won't get huge into it, because the whole Andrade thing, because we did the last project, but now the Dark Order is actually getting a trios match for the belts on Friday instead.
Oh, so it's Silver, Reynolds, and 10.
Yeah, so I kind of like that because you never know, because it's actually the anniversary of the last match of Brody Lee. So I'm wondering, that'd be kind of interesting if they give it to him or not or whatever. But it's still kind of interesting. I'm kind of like that match better than the whole freaking Andrade. Anyway, I'm sorry, that was a side note.
That would be great. I'm not a big fan of 10, to be honest, but
I'm not a fan of. I think Dark Order needs some direction anyway, but I kind of like that match better than just 10 going against Andrade.
Yeah, Dark match they need something. I mean, 10 is fine because those guys are like obviously not both big dudes. So when you have the trio, it's not bad to have one big guy who can come in and just do power moves and doesn't have to blow you away with his work. But that'll be great. I forgot Moxley also came in at the end of that MJF thing.
Oh, and I like the fact that he actually addressed the whole Andrade and Sammy thing when he was like, "You kids," kind of like the people in the back who doesn't know how to keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
Mox is very brilliant at what he does. Like I'm starting to see how brilliant he is with his promos, because you don't know the back end of the story, but once you know the back end, I'm starting to really, because me, I was never a huge Mox fan, but like I'm starting to really, really like appreciate him. Just because of the back end story and like how he is, he's definitely brilliant at what he does.
Yeah, was it? That was at the end of that match, right? He came out and confronted.
No, no, it wasn't. It was just the cowboy shit dude.
Oh, it was Hangman. So I'm
Yes,
jumping
yes, yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, it's
I'm
jumping ahead. So I'm sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead. What was the next match?
All right. I'm trying to do too many things at once here. Then we had Bathroom Break, Wardlow versus Cage.
Yeah, we ain't gonna talk about that. Next match.
I'm going to say one thing. I like this match better than I expected.
That's saying a lot.
Big fan of either of these guys. I give Wardlow credit for getting over not kind of naturally. He was pushed pretty hard, but at least they built a whole story behind him. Blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't hate Cage as much if this was his job, come in and be a big guy that can make like a little guy look like, oh, I can take the big guys,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm sorry. Brian Cage can do a lot of stuff. I'm not interested in seeing Brian Cage wrestle ever.
The one good thing I could say is the pop that FTR got.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, the rest of the people I could give two fucks about, but the FTR pop was really good to me. So that's the only good thing about that whole entire segment.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that was a little bit of the Tony like learning a lesson, knowing that like, okay, I need to start pushing these guys. Hearing that like, where are and they're not a homegrown team, but they're a team that definitely like was a crowd favorite.
He even said when he was in New Japan, he was like, "Hey, Tony, we still work for you, brother." Because they weren't even booked at all for anything.
No, but to me, they're a team like I wasn't a big fan of theirs in WWE. So to me, like,
no,
my love of FTR is homegrown with AEW because I feel like that's where they really got their push and were allowed to do what they wanted to do. And they're fan favorites. And I feel like that was like, let's get these guys out there somehow because the crowd is clamoring for them. So I'm glad that they showed up.
I will say, even though we don't like Wardlow and Joe or whatever, because me, I don't fucking like Joe forever, anything. But the crowd still loves him. So I have to say, okay, well, at least the crowd still enjoys him because they still chant them both their names. They still chant when they both come out and do their shtick. So at least it makes sense that they're out there because at least the crowd still loves them. It's not like some people like Cage coming out. No one fucking loves him. So why the hell you keep on putting them out here and there or whatever? At least Wardlow and Joe make sense. But that I just wanted to add that in because like, even though I don't like them, I kind of understand, why they keep on coming out,
Yep. No, I agree. 100%. After this, we had a little promo. Oh, the promo where Britt was like, hey, y'all been asking, just so you know, I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. Saraya is not going to be wrestling. She's not cleared. I don't know how much of that was a little bit of misdirection, but they had to address it. Again, I think this is Tony like saying, you know what? People are asking, like, why haven't we addressed this? And I realized we should have. So let's fix it this week. We'll have Britt Baker do the announcement. So we'll make it part of her shtick. That worked. Not much else to say about that unless you have anything.
No. Go ahead.
That was followed by the women's match, 3-on-3 match. Penelope Ford, Serena Deeb, and Jamie Hayter versus Athena, Willow, and Toni Storm. I loved this match.
I did too. And I also love the winner. I love the fact that she got some shine. I know Willow to death.
Willow got the pin, and I do love Willow, and I'm glad that she got a little shine in this.
I love that all of them seem to be crowd favorites, and it seemed like the crowd was into it as well. Like they seemed to actually cheer on. It's just nice to see the women having more crowd support.
Yeah, and they put Jamie in there. I think they're hearing the crowd. They're popping for Jamie. They're popping for Willow. Everybody loves all of the people involved here. Penelope is even, I think,
she's gotten a lot
little
better.
Bit. She was whatever. And personally, for me, like I think she looks a lot better than she did when they first started. She was an original, and she didn't wrestle a lot. She was just a valet for a little bit with what's his name, Joey Janela. But no, I think she's been decent. I wouldn't put a belt on her, but I'm happy with her role right now. And A lot of this I think has to be attributed to, we've talked about this before, but Madison Rayne. I just feel like the women's matches, the matches themselves have just looked better since she's been there. And I don't think it could be a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And also Soraya got a pop. I think that the crowd is still loving how they're like slowly molding her in. It's not like she's went there and all of a sudden just took over everything. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I do think that she still gets a pop. I think that she's with the right people. So it's almost like, again, to me, I know I said this comparison, it's almost like a Jericho where she's with Willow and those people to almost get the more, you know, she's with Willow, Athena, and who was the other one that she was with again?
Willow, Athena, and Tony Storm.
Yeah, so like, even though Tony Storm has his own following, but the fact that she's with the right people to boost them up even more, it just seems like the crowd loved it. I enjoy the fact that they're slowing her in. Like, you know, they're not just sitting there, okay, we're going to do this and it's not, you're going to get the belt and blah, blah, blah. The way that they're doing it so far is I'm okay with. You know, everyone is getting a shine. It was a win-win for all 6 of the women that was involved.
Yeah. No, and you made a good point that I want to make a general point about, you know, working her in slowly. That's so important to me. I'm never a fan of a guy just shows up and they're immediately like pushed to the top. And AEW is not as bad with this as WWE would be, because you look at Punk, even though he was like coming in as a top guy, they didn't just put a belt on them. They gave a long build to it, you know? So I think for the most part, they're good at that. There are some times where they don't do it well, but like, even if somebody's established, you don't want to just bring them in and push them right to the top. It always feels forced to me. I never like it. It's one of the things I hated about WWE. They bring somebody in and just like automatically make them like unstoppable. I don't know. And they don't always do it, but anyway, that's one of my things. That's going to be a recurring theme for me. Slowly work them in.
Yep.
Like let the people learn to like them. You don't know who knows about them already. You don't know who knows their history when they show up to AEW. So that was the women's match. Then we had Scissoring Day. We talked all about that. That was
my God, that's amazing.
I loved it.
Okay. Yeah.
Loved it. Then there was a little backstage interview.
Of what? Of who?
Tony Schiavone interviewed Madison Rayne and Sky Blue, which I thought was nice.
It was okay. I don't remember anything, to be honest with you, but it was all right.
Yeah, I like, you know, they're giving these up and comers a little bit of a, you know, intro kind of like. Madison Rayne is everybody pretty much knows she's like a backstage person. She's a trainer, so she's kind of like the adult, right? And then Sky Blue is like the student. And so this little introduction was like a way of giving her some credibility, introducing her to the crowd, even though everybody knows her, but like introducing her to like, you know, the crowd is like, we're bringing her to the next level. She's going to start her ascent now. So I liked that. Then it was interrupted by Jericho Appreciation people, Ty and Anna, who both can work on their promos a little bit, but it was on paper, it was fine.
Yeah.
Not finally, but next was Hangman versus Rouge.
The one thing I'm going to say, and I'm sure you know about this match, is that he finally did cowboy shit.
Oh, right. I'm impressed because it didn't occur to me, but you picked up on the fact that he's a cowboy and he's wrestling against a bull.
It was the only time, because I cannot wait when Julia is on the podcast and say, what the fuck is cowboy shit? And the only answer you could possibly say is, he fought a bull. Like, that's the only time. When he chucked him and he threw him, I said, you know what? That is cowboy shit.
He threw a bull.
I was very fascinated and pleased that I finally got to see cowboy shit from him.
It finally happened.
And it was a good match. Like, everything was a good match. Yeah. I think Rouge is it's so funny when you say his name, Rouge. But it was a good match. Hangman Page is always a crowd favorite. I think Rouge is actually getting a lot of popularity, and like, even though like he's supposed to be like a heel, I think everyone actually respects his work.
Yeah.
So it's just a good match all around.
I liked it a lot. I think both these guys are great. I think it's a shame that Andrade doesn't want to stick around because it'd be cool. And I'm not the biggest Andrade fan, but like, Rush and Andrade as a tag team, I thought was going to be really cool, and eventually they would have been, I think, champs. But doesn't look like that's going to happen.
I did like the whole Rush doing the nod to Andrade's pose when he during the match. I thought that was kind of neat. Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat.
The
when he
laying
did
down
that.
with the fist in the air. That's their old shtick, I think, from Mexico. There,
yeah, but it was still a nod to him. You could tell.
Yeah,
because apparently the fight was before this. So so it was definitely cool to tell.
Yeah,
anyway.
the little tranquilo pose.
Yeah.
Los Ingobernables. Then we had Moxley. We talked about that because I fucked up the order. And that was cool. Then here is, I think, maybe one of the most. Here's where they.
Here's the complaints.
Things.
Here's the complaints.
Yep, they begin now. Willow in a backstage interview, and I thought Willow was great in this interview. What I didn't like was it set up a match against Jade Cargill for Battle of the Belts. Now, you just gave this girl a push. You just gave her the pin. Not even like an hour earlier. Already, she's getting put into a match where she's obviously going to lose. Why? Keep the momentum. You're finally giving her something, and you're already going to take it away. And it's not a match against Jade. We talked about this, where like losing to Jade is not like losing to Omega or Danielson, where you're still going to get over. You're just going to get pushed back down. The momentum you got from this show is going to get lost after you lose. Next, disappointment number 2, Luchasaurus. And whatever. This was fine. There's a squash match. It was what it was supposed to be. We talked about this. They
ruined both people at once.
Luchasaurus is not a heel. He's a pretend dinosaur. There's nothing heel about him. I don't know.
You ruined 2 people at once. So I'm just kind of disappointed. And there's really not much else to say to that, because they just ruined a really organic thing that people loved. And now no one gives a shit about either one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're trying to make Jungle Boy into Jack Perry. They always have to say Jack Perry after his name now.
Yeah,
this is just going nowhere. I mean, at least they're going to have a match next Wednesday, and hopefully that'll be the end of this feud. So I don't know. I'm ready to move on from this. Put them back together. Please don't try to make Jungle Boy a serious. Don't make them serious. They're fun. They should be fun. I understand there's other things going on with the tag teams right now, so there's not much for them. But like, I'm worried about where this is going to go. Okay. Yep. Finally, we had Danielson and Garcia versus Jericho and Sammy Guevara. I thought this is a very good match.
It was a good match. I think it got ruined a little bit from all the pictures, because that always ruins a lot of it. But it was a good match. I'm actually shocked that there was no interference, and the fact that they actually let Garcia lose especially with all the shit that Sammy had in the back.
Yep. And him getting booed constantly. This was the wrong call. I mean, Tony could have, I don't know if Tony thought something else was going to happen with the crowd. He could have called an audible, like, no, you know what? Let's put Garcia over. There was no reason for this. This is one of those things where I understand they're trying to tease out this angle, right? Keep the story going. But like, you know what? It's not the 70s anymore. People are not tuning in to see the heel get his comeuppance. You need to keep people happy. People are going to come back to have a good time because they had a good time the time before. People are having less and less of a good time because you're just bombarding us with these heel pushes. You gotta pump the brakes on this, man.
It made no sense to me why, for a fact that Garcia was getting over. He was getting over with Daniel Bryanson. Why would you let him take the pin? It doesn't. To me, I was so shocked at that. Like, not even with the heat in the back. Why would you let Garcia take the win, the lose? Because it makes no sense. Like,
but also with the heat in the back, you don't know where Sammy's going to be. Right now, he's in the middle of all this crazy shit. He could end up getting suspended before the end of the night, and you can't finish this angle. Just, to me, knucklehead shit right here.
The crowd would have went nuts if Garcia won.
Yes.
and it would have went one. It would have. I understand they tried to do the whole angle where Regal came out with the. No, that actually was the other match. Sorry.
No, this was Jericho hit
Yeah.
Garcia with the belt.
Yeah. So it just makes more sense that, like, you have Garcia go over, have the crowd go home happy.
Yeah.
It just didn't make much sense to me, especially when it was already 2 hours and 50 minutes, so people looked a little bit tired. Like, why deflate it after, like, certain, it just seems like after the Acclaimed brilliant thing happened, it slowly went to a decline, and then that was just kind of like, okay, why the hell did you make him lose?
There was no reason for it.
Yeah, none.
And it's and it's a tag match. Like, what's the point of these random people from different factions in a tag match if not to let somebody win without anybody, losing their push? It's not the point of this. So right? It's the same mentality of, like, putting a tag person in a singles match that they can take a loss without losing the push for their team. So to me, there was no reason to have this match unless you were going to have Garcia go over.
Yeah. It made no sense whatsoever, because there's no reason for it. You know what I'm saying? That there's no outcome of saying, oh, what? Because you already know Sammy has the heat. So what's the point? So to me, it's just like, okay, you're just kind of like kicking the fans in the nuts.
Yep. And then Garcia having to, like, inch closer to the rope so he could take the belt.
Yeah.
The belt spot.
It was a little weird ending.
Yeah. So speaking of, go ahead.
I'm looking forward to Friday. I want to see what happens on Friday. But, like, I still enjoyed Wednesday.
Yeah, it was mostly good. And I mean, Scissoring Day, we'll be talking about this. It's the only thing I rewatched. And I watched it with my girlfriend. Yeah. I'm like, babe, you got to see this.
I'm like, I rewatched it a couple of times. I'm sure I'm going to show my friend Levi. And listen.
Yeah.